Over here, Rattlesnake Reef, all the way down to Cedar Bayou Flat, all this area down in here, all the way up to the mouth of Cedar. We got great hard packed bottoms, which has been key. Shale has been key so far in this summer. One thing that's been very consistent: our water temps and air temps have been extremely warm, and it's affected fishing, especially for the artificial game specifically. Um, the thing that you have to really key in on and look at and see what's going on is really focus in on what your moon phases are. If it's new moon, transition moon, full moon, whatever. We're right at the edge of a new moon, fixing to be on the back side of it here as we slide away from it. But there's opportunities to be had there, so that's the thing that we have to really take into account for. So typical old high pressure slides in here this time of year, summertime, makes things hot throughout the day. So if you're going to target your trout and that's what you really want to look, then you're going to want to be on the water at or before daybreak to be on a particular area that you really want to try to locate. And again, shale, hard packed sand, grass has been the main things. Somewhere where it's got a little bit of a drop or a little bit deeper edge too, so you can work it up shallow early and then slide out just a tad bit deeper later. Or maybe you have a deeper cut that's adjacent to a nice hard packed sand flat or shale bar or reef somewhere that you can work into those. The main thing about that is, again, the trout bite mid-morning is pretty well done for. So make sure you have a plan B to go to. If you're looking for your redfish, for us, we have found some here and there, but not just a tremendous amount of numbers on those things. They've been scattered up. So, pick one up here, a couple there, pick one up there. But you have to really be prepared to really want to grind and find and catch those fish. They are there. They just have to really work for them. Again, June, July, August months are the most difficult for people that throw artificial. And it's rearing its ugly head. It's showing itself. So we're having some tough days on the water. We'll find fish here and there, but every day is not great. So you have to really kind of stick to your guns on particular areas and just really work areas and understand that the fish are there. You just got to really be super patient to locate and find those. And when you do find a little bit of a pattern, pay a little bit more close attention to it and really kind of stick with it so you can find and catch these fish consistently. Again, the reefs have been the main thing. Like here in Mesquite, down this shoreline here, you got these edges here at the mouth. You've got that deeper gut that runs back into Cedar Bayou there. Even out on particular days, the surf has been okay, but you got to have the right wind day for that, or you're just going to get flat beat up out there. So we're staying more inshore and work these southern edge shorelines, more of a leeward side. Now, when we've been out in the middle of San Antonio Bay and some of those areas, and we've had a windward shoreline, and we've had some pretty decent days there catching some fish up against that. So something to maybe put a feather in your cap there and kind of keep that in your back pocket in case you need to do that, if that's an area that you really want to play with or get to, whether it be in San Antonio Bay, here in Mesquite Bay areas, anywhere that you've got shell bars and reefs. Even if it's not in those particular areas, is something that you want to look at. Main things that we've been throwing have been original size down south and burner shot size down south. Few of the mirrodines have been somewhat productive. There's not been any one particular bait that's been just knock it out of the park good, just because the fishing's been tough in general. So we really kind of used a bunch of different baits to see if there's something in particular that they really want, and there's nothing that's really showed itself just as of yet. You just got to continue to fish and continue to grind and try to locate and do what you can do with it. Again, Little Johns have been pretty good. Overall, it's been all right. Again, the down south in the originals and burners have been okay. The knock and tail lures, they've produced fish here and there. It's just there's nothing that's been a consistent thing with any one particular bait. So again, in the new moon phase, you want to give yourself multiple opportunities, and you can throw big baits all the way down to the smaller baits, whatever you so choose. Just kind of find out what your water clarity is so you can match that with that. Darker baits, dark water, clearer baits, clearer water. But there hasn't been a tremendous amount of clear water here lately, as we have our higher winds in the afternoons and evenings. On the other thing, on the flip side, our tides have been extremely low. So that's another thing you want to take into account in and around these reefs, especially if you've got a deeper drop or deeper edge. But again, majors and minors have been, again, the most consistent producers for us in and around those time frames. Make sure you incorporate that into your fishing day to help you find and locate these fish. Again, the main thing, reefs, all these reefs from the Paul's Mott Long Reef area over here to Jaybird Point, down to Spalding Reef, Fingers of Carlos, all these that are out here by the ICW, Towelhead Reef, all these things are here on the other side of the ICW, Tin Can, Half Moon, particular reefs are out here. Some of these that are further over here on these particular maps are more detailed, and they're not necessarily exposing themselves like they once upon a time did, just because of, Hurricane Harvey did a number on a lot of them. Then of course just tides and time have knocked them down, and of course oystering has knocked them down as well. So if you've got one of the really good GPSs, it can show you like the Google Earth overlay type thing. You can look at these particular things and you can locate them. One of the advantages of that is that the fact that we are having much warmer water temps and air temps as we get into the mid-morning day and midday itself, or maybe early afternoon, is these particular areas, that water temp, when you're in deeper water like that, gets cooler, so those fish have a tendency to want to dive off onto those things. So if you've got like where you can see the down scan imaging on that, and you can see where these particular fish, maybe you've got some bait that's working off that, or maybe if it's even showing itself somewhat, you can work these areas really well. Again, with the water temps and air temps being as warm as what they are, it really helps to kind of fish this deeper water out here in the bays like this, so you can get on those and maybe locate you a few fish here or there. Wading has been the best for us as far as throwing our artificials, doing a drift trip or floating across the water in the boat with the drift bag or sack or whatever. Those days have not been very productive at all. So getting in the water and wading these areas has been the most productive for us, and it's going to be your best option during this time frame, just until we get some cooler temps. And that's not going to happen probably until September late, or maybe even October. So we still got some work ahead of us in the next 45 to 50 days that are coming that's going to be difficult. But that said, go with your game plan. Have you one in place. Have a secondary game plan. Making sure that you have different variables and sizes and colors of your baits and what you want. Marker 54 is another great option for you, and throwing the shrimp. Most everything eats shrimp. In fact, everything does eat shrimp, in my knowledge. Of course, your down south's great option. Your Marker 54s, your mirror lures, your soft dines, little johns. Lots of different things that you can throw, and of course in the down south, and the supermodel, the original size, the burner shad, knock and tail, both have the 4-inch. They have the 5-inch version as well. Maybe a great option. Time frames on which you may want to fish these particular areas. If you're comfortable enough, do it early mornings. Just as long as you can safely navigate to these particular areas, and you don't have a really big problem with that. And then of course another one, time frame wise, is getting on the water late in the day. Before dark, an hour and a half or two before that sun starts to set, and then fish a little bit past sunset or dusk in that particular time frame that give you those opportunities. Middle of the day fishing right now in July and coming up August is going to be extremely difficult. Now, if you're throwing live or cut bait, then that's a different story for you or those people that are doing that. But those of us that are strictly throwing artificials, that's a struggle time. It's really difficult to find. You may scratch a fish out here or there in those time frames, but for your most part, it's going to be early mornings and late evenings, just like you would be if you're fishing a full moon. Same type of scenario. It's just a matter of getting your water temps where it's a tad bit more comfortable for these fish. That's why fishing around the shell is really important, and really hard-packed sand and grass is important. Those fish will get and migrate around some of those particular areas like that, whether it's out here in the middle of Aransas Bay, or if you know some other areas that you're familiar with, it's got the same style and type of structure. Those are areas that you're going to want to target if you don't specifically fish these particular areas. But again, make sure that you're working these areas like that. Give yourself opportunities. And again, you'll hear me say it in the last one, this particular video, and the next video. It's just, you got to be patient with these fish. The fish are there. They're just not super hungry right now. Their bite frames are extremely short. And once you can get on those and catch some fish, stick to them for as long as you can, because once they taper off that's going to be it until you just scratch one out here or there. So it makes things difficult, but again, you just got to stick to your plan, stick to your guns, and everything will be fine. Again, majors and minors are the main important thing that we're really focusing in and around on to catch these fish. Rattlesnake Point, Redfish Lodge, that shoreline there, all the way across over here down into Pete's Bend, back into Italian Bend, Port Bay, all these areas here. You've got nice hard packed sand. You've got scattered shell in some of these areas. You've got deeper drops there, especially on the Port Bay side over here towards Swan Lake. On the edge out here, this is one of the areas I really like to fish wintertime, but it also doubles in the summertime because it's deeper water. You know, you've got the flat that's adjacent to a deeper drop is there, so it's a great location to really start. So if you get there early enough in the morning, you won't throw a top water on, you're going to fish this flat that's up here on the Swan area. And then as the sun pops and starts to get a little higher up in the sky, then, you know, slide out here and see if you can't locate some fish hanging out here off the edge. Same thing with rattlesnake. Big old flat mud, nice little hard packed sand, a little mud here, there, some shell that's in here. You got some deeper cut throughs that come through the point there, all the way down here where old Redfish Point used to be toward Holiday Beach, or not Holiday Beach, but Copano Ridge back in this area here. All that area gives you opportunity, and that's what we're looking for. Primarily, just opportunities this time of year during the hottest part of the summer for us, artificial, specifically speaking, to give those chances to find and catch fish. That's all we can look for and ask for right now. Again, your main key things, seeing what type of bait that you have working in the area. Make sure that you have that, because that's often the most key thing. Is got to have a food source. Then your structure becomes in right behind that. Make sure that you got some shell, hard packed sand, grass. If you can get all three of those, that's the trifecta. That's a great thing that you can have that'll really give you opportunity there. Fish the deeper guts. You know, your currents, anything that you can stack good in your favor, especially right now, is going to be a positive. It's going to give you a better opportunity to catch fish. Again, the bait choices, same ones that I've mentioned in the last two videos. Your down south, all three sizes are in play. The mirror lures in whatever flavor, if you want a paddle tail, Little John, Provoker, any of those have all been good. Soft dines, double D's, Marker 54, both in your jerk shrimp and the baby shrimp have been good. Again, there's not been any, you know, knock and tail as well in the greenback, in the rogue flavor and heavy metal. All those have been good at times. But again, as I mentioned earlier, there's not any one particular flavor or model or style that has been just continuously knocking it out of the park. We've had to use probably a little bit of everything just to give these fish options to see if there's something. And once you catch a few fish on it and you stick with it, then it kind of dies off, and then you change up and you catch a few more. So that's kind of the pattern that's developed and been there. So just keep that in mind. That's why I've said time and time again, when you get around certain time frames of the moon, make sure you give yourself options as far as sizes and flavors. Because there's not been any one particular thing that's been consistent, except the fact that you're going to have to be patient to catch fish on a decent clip. Lots of little bitty fish that are out there, but there are better fish that are in and amongst those. Nothing in particular that's patternized with that, other than what I've already talked about or suggest that you should do or can do. Again, topwater bait's been good super early, so there's still somewhat bare. Sun's barely starting to pop. If you want to throw a topwater at that time frame, that's going to give you your best opportunity. When that sun gets up, it's pretty much done as far as that goes. Again, your tides have been extremely low, so you want to be fishing off deeper edges with that until you get a little bit of tidal flow coming back. And just depending on the area that you're going to fish is when that tide's going to come back. So it may be earlier, it may be later. I don't know. You have to check and see what your tides are going and what they're doing. It's very important right now specifically. Majors and minors, again, most productive time frame that we're having is during in and around those. If you're not fishing those, you're fishing in between those bite frames, you're going to struggle. It's just going to happen. Just prepare yourself for it. If you can't get on one of those time frames, line up as much good stuff as you can so you can find you and locate you a fish or two. But again, just keep your heads up out there. Summertime's moving on. As long as we keep those big spinners out of our Gulf out there, we'll be just fine. The cooler weather won't be too far away. But the thing is, if you're getting to be on the water to fish, that's always a positive no matter what.